Hello, I'm Chris Burns, and welcome to The Network, where we connect to a matrix of newsmakers to get to the core of a problem. Watch out, the guests must answer the questions in 25 seconds or less, or else. Let's have a look at today's topic. The darkest warnings are becoming reality. The world's fish stocks are collapsing, thanks to super trawlers supported by public money. EU subsidies, part of the Common Fisheries Policy, or CFP, have modernised the European fishing fleet. But that fleet now shares responsibility for the overfishing which is destroying regional ecosystems. A petition by the World Wildlife Fund, signed by 150,000 people, calls on the European Parliament to fight for a tougher reform of the CFP. A study commissioned by the WWF warns that within 10 years, those fleets would catch 30% less fish if there's no real reform. That decline would cost the EU 50,000 jobs. What needs to be done to save European and worldwide fishery? Can Europe influence the global fishery policy before it's too late?
Kann Europa die globale Fischereipolitik beeinflussen, bevor es zu spät ist?
Connected with us for this edition of the network are, here at the European Parliament in Brussels, Ulrike Rodust, EP Rapporteur for the Common Fisheries Policy, also at the European Parliament, Saskia Richards, Political Advisor for Greenpeace. And in The Hague, Gerhard van Balsfort, President of the Pelagic Freezer Trawler Association, which brings together 25 fishing vessels. One question to you all. Let's begin with Ulrike. Is it true that super trawlers are destroying both fish stocks and jobs?
I wouldn't put it like that. The new fisheries policy will focus on small-scale and traditional fishing. So by doing this, we hope to change the course of fisheries policy. But there will still be trawlers worldwide, and if anyone believes this won't be the case, they're wrong.
Saskia, do you agree?
Well, overfishing is destroying jobs. And super trawlers are responsible for that. That's how we in Europe have lost up to 30% of fishery jobs in the last 10 years. So in that sense, super trawlers are responsible.
Okay, Gerhard, you represent fishermen throughout Europe. What do you think?
Well, I don't agree at all. Everything in Europe is regulated by quotas. There's no free fishery. Fishermen can only fish according to these quotas. And whether you catch the fixed amount using small or a large boat doesn't really matter. When the quota is reached, you stop. So that isn't an issue.
Environmentalists say fisheries ministers have watered down the European Commission's proposed reforms. Did the Commission want to go too far with those proposals, or didn't it go far enough? I'll ask Saskia first.
The Commission's was a good proposal, and it was indeed watered down by ministers, obviously because of short-term economic and political interests. It doesn't reflect reality or scientific advice on reducing overfishing.
Okay, Ulrike, you want to strengthen the proposals, am I right?
Yes, of course. The Commission's proposal goes in the right direction. My report is based on it, and I think the Council of Ministers is doing its best to water down these sound proposals by the Commission.
Gerhard, what's your opinion? Is it going too far, perhaps?
Well, the Commission's isn't just made up of a single proposal, it contains several. Some go in the right direction, others go overboard. So it's not a question you can just answer with yes or no to, it's more complicated than that.
Are the seas dying out because they're being ill-treated? Do we need a worldwide organization to regulate fisheries? Ulrike.
I think everybody has to look and see where his responsibility lies. The European Union has authority over European waters. Treaties are being signed with third world countries. But treaties have to be fair. They must take into account human rights, and they must ensure that fishermen don't catch other countries' stocks.
But Saskia, is that true?
I agree with Ulrike. The EU has badly managed its waters. Quotas in particular were set too high. The fleet's overcapacity was subsidized rather than reduced as recommended.
Okay, Gerhard, what do you think? Do we need more reform?
Well,
what we need is a global fishery policy drawn up in the regions, not just in Brussels. People need to realize that what bureaucrats and politicians think doesn't always reflect reality. Fishing in the North Sea is quite different from fishing in the Mediterranean, for example. Policy should really be at a lower level for the North Sea, for the Mediterranean.
Okay,
the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists say that companies in Balsford's association have received millions of euros in EU subsidies to modernise their boats, and millions on top of that in fuel tax reductions. Can that really be true, Ulrike?
Soll das wirklich so sein, Ulrike?
In the new fisheries reform, we'll continue to have subsidies, but for very specific purposes. And we're not talking about crazy amounts. We're talking about 1 billion over 7 years. But not for new ships. Nobody wants that any longer.
Saskia, is this a typical case, or is it an exception?
It's been typical up to now, especially for the fisheries industry, to receive financial support for its fleets and for its rights in foreign national waters too, for instance in Western Africa. And I agree with Ulrike that this money used for subsidies, which is European citizens' tax money, should be used instead for control and data collection to develop a better fisheries economy.
Gerhard, this is your chance to defend yourself.
Well, that's very easy. We have 25 boats. Just one of those, with the German flag, received subsidies. That was back in the 90s. And the reason was that it once belonged to the East German fleet. The 24 others never received any EU subsidies. And regarding fuel tax, no ships anywhere in the world, be it commercial or fishing vessels, including Greenpeace vessels, pay any tax on fuel.
Small-scale fishermen say they are the future. They are the answer to sustainable fishing, and that subsidies should be paid to them rather than to super trawlers. What do you think, Ulrike?
Well, I'll say it once again. This money doesn't go to the super trawlers. That might have been the case in the 90s, but not today. And as I said before, we want to focus on small-scale and traditional fishing. But the subsidies wouldn't be used to build new boats. Instead, we need the money for data collection, control, research and technology. I would like to provide small-scale fishermen with new equipment. That's where research has to be done, and that's what we need money for.
There are 12 million small-scale fishermen worldwide, most of them in developing countries, for whom their job is everything they have. How can we secure their jobs, their livelihoods, and the fish they catch? Saskia.
Well, what's most important, of course, is to allow fish stocks to regenerate. Then there would be sufficient resources for fishermen to make a living. Just to compare, the amount caught by one vessel in Mr. Van Balsford's association, that's 250 tons a day, is the same as that caught by about 60 Mauritanian fishermen in an entire year.
Okay, Gerhard, what do you have to say about this?
90% of everything we produce in Europe and outside is exported to countries such as Nigeria or Ivory Coast. It's aimed at consumers who have no money at all to buy anything else, meat for example. Small is not beautiful. Small boats will never be able to do what we do. The fish we catch in Europe, small boats would never be able to fish that amount in Nigeria, not at all. It's all about quotas. Whether you fish with small or large boats doesn't matter. It's not relevant.
Time's up, unfortunately. I'd like to thank our guests, Ulrike Rodust, Saskia Richards and Gerhard van Balsford. I'm Chris Burns. Until the next edition of The Network.